Okay.
Okay, there we go. Hello, welcome to episode 427 of the Self-Help Podcast with me, Ed Lamb, and my good pal, Sean Offord. You all right, Sean?
Yeah, I am very good. I am very good. It's been a long time since I last saw you.
Yeah, must be at least a week or maybe half an hour, who knows. Yeah, it's holiday season, isn't it? So we do tend to kind of bank a few because we tend to be going away. This year is a little bit different. Well,
yeah.
Because actually it's not that much different for me because I'm still going away and doing my normal thing, but still good to have a few in the bag, isn't it?
Yeah, and this one follows on very much from the last one.
It does.
I mean, we've you and I have been talking about the issue about divorce season and relationships and that kind of stuff, and the pressure that's on relationships at the moment. Amount of couples I'm having to work with. And it follows on from that, people being together and needing a break, people needing to get away from the of every day with another person, I guess for most couples over most of the years through history, they go out and they do their work, whether they're going into the fields or whatever they're doing, and they're not spending time together in that way. But suddenly we've been in this situation where people are locked in a house. Not only are they locked in the house with another person, but in lockdown, you can't even leave the house. There was a point where you had to have food delivered, wasn't it? You couldn't just go and do what you wanted to do.
You were allowed an hour's exercise, weren't you? Or a short walk around the block and all that kind of stuff.
But then do you do that together or do you do that separately?
I know. Well, I mean, just as a brief kind of follow on from last week then, before we talk about the kind of frustration side of stuff, I guess sometimes couples and families do need a break. There's that famous line from Friends, from Ross and Rachel, "We were on a break." And now Ross, in the episode, they were on a relationship break, and he slept with someone else, I think, in the episode, and his justification was that they were on a break. So you kind of overstepped the line then. But I mean, I guess, is it good sometimes to take a break from each other, and even if it's as short as choosing not to take that walk together, just going for a walk on your own?
I think it's really down to couples. I know couples that are stuck to each other like Siamese twins, and ones that go on separate holidays and do all kinds of things, but it works for them. It's like whatever works for you, isn't it? And I guess that's the main thing, is being able to negotiate a way of being that works for both of them. Then you cracked it.
Yeah.
Really. I don't think there's a rule.
There's no one size fits all. Yeah. But I guess for certain relationships where you haven't tried that, it might be worth a go. And I'm not talking about having a break from your relationship. I'm saying sometimes maybe it's a good idea to have some actual time apart, not to kind of be with other people or to contemplate separation, just to be on your own for, maybe it could be half an hour, or it could be a week, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's like, how much time do we need for self-reflection? Because that's when you process stuff. And that's one of the things that people have said to me about in working from home, they don't have the commute, and they've realized what the value of the commute was to sort their head out, either getting into work or coming out of work.
Yeah,
it's like a decompression chamber.
So I mean, life, let's move on then. So life can be full of frustrations at the best of times, and especially at the moment, I guess. You've got a story in your blog post, which is linked to in the show notes. I should have mentioned, if you go to the website, liveinthepresent.co.uk, a story about a cow. Do you want to tell everyone your story?
Yeah. I'm a young man. I'm very frustrated and generally kind of an angry young man, going through that phase. And I'm in an ashram, and I have a teacher, and the teacher's starting to get a bit pissed off with me, really, because and he can't put up with me moaning and arguing. So, and because I'd taken the vow of obedience, I had to do what I was told. So he told me to go and spend a day in the field with the cows. And I'm thinking, okay, so I'm in the field thinking, what the hell am I doing here? I was showing about the cows. Mm-hmm. And then gradually, as I got into the day, I started to realize that the cows were looking at me like I was bonkers. I mean, I'm running around the field going, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? And the cows are just chewing the cud and looking at me thinking, this is another mad human, you know. And there was one particular cow that I kind of had, we resonated together. And she just looked at me and chewed the cud and looked me in the eyes and said, okay, boy, you know, calm down. And it sounds mad, but talking to that cow made me realize that she wasn't running around the field going, oh, who am I? And worrying about things. She was just being a cow. And she was happy to relax and be calm and to chew the cud and get milked. You know, and she was an okay, I couldn't have said human being, an okay being who was living in her world, and she was amazingly happy living in her world and content, which I hadn't been able to achieve. So when the teacher comes back and says to me, okay, what have you learned from today? When I got down to it, what I'd learned from the cow was that the cow was content just to be who the cow was. It wasn't demanding anything of anything. And when I look at that, and I look at the people that I've been working with, you know, like we were talking about holidays and the need to get away and all that kind of stuff, it's like we live in a world which isn't constant. There's so much change, there's so much newness, whether it's the new phone, the new holiday, doing this, going there, the new fashion, what's on television today, I've seen that before, oh, there's a new series on. It's like, it's new. And we've lost, in many cases, that just simple ability to be. We're so busy doing that we can't be anymore. And I think that's one of the biggest pressures in COVID has been people have been forced to be because they can't do.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking out my window now and I can see this. I've got two little guinea pigs in the garden in a little hutch, and actually they are slightly frustrated because I haven't fed them yet this morning. So I can hear their frustration in the little squeaks. So animals do get frustrated sometimes, don't they?
Yes, when they're reliant on human beings to feed them, give them their breakfast.
Yeah.
Where's my breakfast now?
Yeah, and there's a fly in the room with me as well. Just as I become aware of my surroundings, there's a frustrated fly that since we shut the French doors hasn't been able to get back out. So there you go. Just to counter the chilled out cow narrative, there's a couple of
But if you think about every animal on the planet is trying to do the same thing. You know, they find someone to be with, and then they raise a family. And then the issue is they need to feed the family. They need to do that, which is what every being on the planet does. The difference is that the cow's process is pretty regular, same year in, year out. And you could say, well, that's really boring, isn't it? And the cow should be evolving and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But actually, who's the person who's most content? You know, is it the human being that's running around trying to find themselves? Is it the cow that's just being a cow? Yeah. And it's like, what is it that we are chasing? What is it that we're running around looking for? You know, and it's like, I must go on holiday. I must go on holiday. Well, I'm seeing loads of people that are coming back from holiday going, well, that was a waste of time. Didn't enjoy that. You know, it was boring. Oh, I wish I hadn't gone now. And I had to pay for all these tests, you know. And it's like, they would have been much better staying at home, packing up a picnic, putting it on their back or their bike, and going for a walk and with the kids and, you know, playing in the forest and just having a simple time just being where they are.
Yeah, I mean, we were away a couple of weeks ago, in Northumberland, just having one of our chilled out holidays. And we tend not to have kind of family holidays that involve too much like structured activity. Partly because maybe it's because I don't like paying for it, but also it's the kind of childhood that I had. So we'll check the weather forecast the day before. We'll look out the caravan window in the morning, and then we'll make a decision as to whether we're going to go to a beach or whether we're going to go put a raincoat on or go for a walk somewhere and find a coffee shop, that kind of thing. But I was, we were lucky that we had a lot of beach days, and it was kind of amazing. In fact, a family joined us one day, some friends that were up there as well, and they were on a holiday which was much more structured in terms of activities that they paid for the daytime, and we took them for a day out on one of our little crazy just do nothing beach days. You know, you give kids like a bit of like a mile of sand and some water lapping gently at the edge of it, and like they'll just be happy for hours, won't they? It's amazing.
It always used to make me laugh when at Christmas or birthdays you get the kids all these presents, and they'd open the boxes to get the presents out and then go and play with the boxes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And it's
Still
like,
happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was because they were happy to be it wasn't like, oh, what's in the box, and all that anxiety. It was like, oh, that looks fun. Let's go and play with that box. Yeah. You know, and that idea of fun and contentment and being happy with who we are is something that's so easy to lose. And one of my wishes is that our learning from the whole COVID experience is that a lot of people would have learned how to be again, and so they don't have to keep doing. And I think that is actually happening. You know, when we were talking about in the last one about that split of people between those people who have got to go, got to this, got to that, and the ones that are like, nah, I think I'm just going to chill and hang back here for a while. And I think the ones that will come out of this the best, the ones that are able to just hang back and observe and relax without having to go and do things like mad. Yeah. And I don't know whether we have to accept that the world not is changing, but maybe it has changed. Maybe we are in a position where it won't be the same again. You know, we have had Brexit, we have had COVID. We don't know where that's going to end. We're assuming that people will be able to go back on holidays as normal next year. Who knows? You know?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, you're into quite structured daily or twice daily meditation. So, what does meditation teach you about how dealing with frustration and dealing with change in the world as well?
It's a hard thing to explain unless you've been in it. But once I'll sit down for like 20, 30 minutes, maybe even an hour if I've got the time. And after about 5-10 minutes, I just slip into a void. That's the same way I can describe it. It's a void which steps outside of time and space. So I put a gong on my phone to ring when it goes gong when I've finished. So I don't have to worry about timing it. And so I just disappear into my void. And it's like suddenly the gong goes. And it's like I can just relax and feel like I'm just getting into it, and the gong goes and an hour's gone. Where's it gone? And it's because I've been in that void. I've stepped out of the madness. And that is such a refreshing experience. The only experience I've had that's anything like that is having a general anesthetic.
Wow.
Have you ever had a general anesthetic?
No, actually I haven't. No.
It is the most, if you can go with it, not resist it, it's absolutely fabulous because you just drift. And it's amazing. And when you come back again, you are so relaxed. It's so lovely. It's an amazing feeling. And I do know quite a few people that really enjoy having general anesthetics because of that lovely effect it has. But meditation can be like that. You step out of time and space. You're no longer aware of what's going on around you. All the problems disappear. And when you're in that void, I always call it the knowing silence, because it's like sometimes you come out with kind of realizations and stuff like that. But it means that you are absolutely chilled and relaxed. And whatever it was that was a problem, is gone. It's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's a good sales.
So, it's the cow was doing it all the time. The cow was just in that state, you know. Yeah. And one day, I will get you to meditate.
It could happen. Yeah, my kids are. I think my kids are taught sort of meditation basics at school, and they talk about mindfulness now. So,
yeah.
But whether there's some great awakening coming for humanity, I don't know. I mean, because the world seems to want the commercialized consumer world wants us to be busy, doesn't it? And it wants us to be running around like lunatics, and you know, it kind of promotes that idea of having a hectic social life and being buzzing around all the time.
Yeah.
How do we counter that? Because it's such a strong force, isn't it? The kind of like the advertising dollar that that brings it?
I think that there are changes that are happening, and obviously there is a growth in mindfulness as an idea, and not always the practice that is said to be mindful is necessarily mindful, but in that sense of being able to be in the moment. But I think that there are areas of awareness developing, and although I don't adhere to it personally, I think that the whole kind of vegan, plant-based food eating is a part of people changing the way they view the world and their relationship with the world. And with things like that, and things like the changes with attitudes to mindfulness and meditation, and indeed in the world that you inhabit, about being able to, maybe we don't drive, maybe we ride a bike, because riding a bike is a much more of a meditative, in the present experience than driving a car. How many times do people drive a car and then they say, it's really weird, I can't remember going from there to there. It was all just below their awareness. It gone.
I know, hurtling along in a ton and a half. Yeah, I mean, I do think about that, obviously, more than I probably should do that's healthy, but I do see the car as a kind of, well, a gateway drug to a manic, busy life, as part of it. So I don't like to talk too much in campaigning about the speed at which you can get places on a bike, because you can, in a lot of instances, do trips faster on two wheels, certainly in cities, than you would in a car. Because I don't think the long-term aim for humans should be about getting everywhere as quickly as possible, because it's there's more to life, isn't there?
But it's interesting. We were driving down the road the other day, and it was the road that goes up from the Countess back up into Wirral, and this guy was like, and he ends up flying down the outside of the traffic. And about 3 miles later, we catch up with him at the junction, and he was actually at the junction. We just pulled up behind him. So all his excitement and going down the road had got him absolutely nowhere, other than we were just tooting along actually at the speed limit, and it was fine. Yeah,
it does weird things to you.
But it's like, what is it in someone's mind going, oh, I've got to go faster, and then they get angry with the person in front of them. There was a guy on the TV the other day who was a real idiot. He was moaning about caravan drivers and how they stopped him driving his car properly, because I'm driving a 70,000-pound Jaguar and I'm stuck behind this wreck of a caravan, was his attitude. And it's like, oh my God, go away.
Yeah. Well, I know next time you see an advert for a car, for the flashiest latest new car, well, skip it, but also look for kind of how unrealistic it is in terms of how much traffic's on the street, and that kind of thing. It's just this make-believe world. So I can understand why people might be frustrated when they actually get that dream car and they can't drive it at 120 miles an hour, or they're kind of stuck behind someone with a caravan, or even someone on a bicycle, imagine. Because the reality is a little bit different.
How are you finding motorists treating you as a cyclist? Are attitudes getting any better? I'm
not sure really. I mean, I think it's more that I've changed the way I ride now. I went through my phase where I was quite an angry cyclist, and I wasn't looking for trouble, but I was taking routes and I was filming my rides, and I wasn't kind of backing down at any opportunity. I've calmed down a lot since then, and I take quieter routes, and I'm much more chilled out, and I don't ride with a camera anymore either.
Why is that?
I got to the point where I felt like that I was kind of inviting conflict in some situations, and I've seen it the same with people that have dash cams in their cars. They have YouTube channels where they upload bad driving, and it's quite often caused by them kind of accelerating into an incident rather than waiting, kind of just chilling out a little bit. So my own mental health and well-being, I've just taken my foot right off the gas and riding. I ride a bit slower now, and I think I saw a fellow campaigner on Twitter this morning, and she posted about she's finally got her wish. She lives outside of school in London, and she's been campaigning for 6 years to have the road closed to cars, just at the pick up and drop off time, to make it safer and the air pollution better. And she finally got the letter from the council to say that they're going to do it 6 years after she started campaigning. So
Wow.
Sometimes you've got to have that longer term plan. And I'm quite new to this campaigning world, and I've met people in the world of bike campaigning that have been at it for 20, 30, 40 years, and they're still not there. So sometimes you just got to slow down, haven't you?
Yeah. It's strange, isn't it, that we've created the speed that we move at. People moved at a kind of a jog maybe, or a walk. People would very rarely run, other to get away from something or to catch something. And we've changed that whole concept. Like I say, we can be down in Oz in 24 hours. We can just fly down there. And the issue of, we could only really go as far as we could walk there and back in a day. That was our territory. That was what we lived in.
Yeah.
And we don't see it like that anymore. We need and we want and we demand
to be places almost instantly. Yeah. So I think I think that world's going to end in the next 10, 15 years. And I think it will be a positive, but I think the initial frustrations for like me and you and our generation that has to deal with the change is going to be full of frustration. And I can see it playing out already in certain traffic schemes around the UK that are being implemented that are kind of deliberately slowing the pace of life down for people in cars. So you have to take a longer route around and that kind of thing. And it generates real anger and hostility to people that are used to just getting it everywhere almost instantly. But generally what happens is, and it happened in Holland kind of in the 70s as they started to make the changes, you get that initial anger, but then, a few weeks or maybe a year after the schemes had time to bed in, everyone's happy, and there's no anger, and it's like, oh, why didn't we do this years ago?
Yeah.
But
one of the things that very impressed me when I was in Germany was the fact that the buses did run on time. If the bus was going to be there at 2:05, it was there at 2:05. It wasn't early, it wasn't late. And it was amazing. And I often thought, how on earth do you do this? Because you're really good at it. But it did mean that people used them, and that they had those kind of articulated buses where there was like 2 or 3 carriages on it as it went around the bends.
Nice.
And everything. Very, very clever. And they were full of people, which did keep lots of cars off the road.
Yep, you'll get there. My resource of the week then is actually in Australia, and it's called The Commute, a 90-kilometer walk to work. So it's this guy, he made a short film, and he wanted to do his commute on foot, and it was a 90-kilometer drive that he used to do 2 or 3 times a week. He lives in the countryside and into the city, and he walked it. It took him 2 days, I think, from memory. And he learned a lot along the way. So it's a really cool little film documentary about his walk to work. And as much as I go on about bicycles, I think, just walking is just an amazing way just to slow everything down in your life and reap the rewards.
Yeah.
So, What about you?
So my resource for the week is do what I did. Go and talk to an animal.
Talk to an animal.
Yeah. And it could be a cow, it could be a horse in the field. You could go to the zoo. And there are some animals in zoos that are a bit agitated. But the majority of animals in the zoo, when you walk around there, are just like chilling. They don't have that need to be places and go places. They can just be. And you can learn a lot from being with an animal. Some dogs are like that, where they just want to be. Or there's a place near us. Have you ever been down to Easton, where the Easton Ferry is?
Yep.
If you go down into the car park that's on the edge of the river, and you just park up there and just sit there, and you'll find the most amazing amount of squirrels and birds will come and be all around you. And there are loads of kind of tree stumps, and there's always squirrels on the tree stumps, and people put nuts and stuff out for them.
Cool.
It's such a good brush with nature. To just go and see them all getting on with it, you know. They're so used to the people, it doesn't worry them.
Nice.
That's a really lovely place to be. Yeah.
We'll try that out, man. Yeah, I'll go down there on my bike with and have a little poke around and go sit with the squirrels for a little bit.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I'll go with I'll take the family down. All right, cool. Thanks, Sean. I think we're all done, aren't we?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right, you take care till next time. We'll catch up on the other side, eh?
I'll see you next week. You take care.
All right.
See ya.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.